I'm Rob Streeter, and I'm the author of The Greats of Adirondack Fly Fishing. This is another video in the series of the flies that the anglers that I profiled in my book came up with. And today's gentleman, which I kind of looked forward to getting to, is Perry Ehlers. Perry Ehlers had a fly shop through the 40s, 50s, 60s, and it was in North River along the Hudson River. Ehlers tied 20 to 30,000 flies a year. He basically made his living from the fly shop. He was an interesting person and lived a very interesting life. In Ehlers' life, he was an expert skier, so he ended up being in the specialty ski troops that were involved in World War II. So he and another gentleman that also skied in the area on Gore Mountain ended up in World War II in the ski patrol, or the ski troops. He came back from that and he established his fly shop, and he was along the banks of the Hudson ever since. One of my favorite Perry Ehlers stories is Perry always bought a new car every year. So he never really went anywhere. And every time it would be springtime, there would be guys hanging around the Buick dealership because Perry was going to come in and buy a brand new Buick. And the one that he had probably had about 1,000 miles on it, and he was just going to trade it in. So somebody always wanted to buy that one. You know, he had kind of a quirky character, and I always thought that was funny. So here's the fly that Perry Ehlers is most famous for. It's called the ChambersFly. He had a customer who was the son of a famous novelist named Chambers. So he named the fly after that. It's a streamer that he developed for fishing along the Hudson. So here's how you tie it. Okay, tying the Perry Ehlers ChambersFly. So we have a regular streamer hook. This one is a straight-eyed streamer hook, but it doesn't really matter if you use the down eye. And we'll get our thread started. Run it all the way to the back of the hook shank. Out there. Ehlers used two types of tinsel. He used an oval gold as a rib over the top of a silver tinsel for the body. So we're going to tie in the gold for the rib, and I'm making a substitution because I don't have the oval. I don't think it's going to matter that much, but we'll get that one tied in and come in with our silver. So these are both a two-sided tinsel, so you have to tie the side that you want to show, which on this big one is the silver, and it's going to be down, so that when I pull it over, it'll be the part that shows. Now I'm going to leave these long, and we'll trim them up at about there. And the reason I leave them long is I want to have a nice body, and if you cut them in the back where we tied them in, there's going to be a little hump there, and we don't want to have that. This will make for a nice even body, and the other thing that it does is by doing it this way, we end up with a little bit more thickness into the tinsel body. So we went down, we went back. We'll bring our silver tinsel in first. This is wider. that tied off and trim it. Now we can bring that tinsel rib of the gold forward. Make wider wrap so it goes down like a rib. We'll tie that off. And we'll get that trimmed. Next step, Ehlers and the folks in that era had access to impala tail, and we don't have that, so we're going to use a dyed yellow hunk of calf tail hair. And get that all evened up. And that's going to go in about like that. I'm going to use the pinch method and get it down on top of the hook. Some good tight wraps here. And we're going to trim that off. Okay. A couple more wraps. Next piece is just gray squirrel tail hair. Cut off a hunk of that, about the same thickness. That all evened up. That goes on top. That bomb down, trim it off. Okay. Start making the head of the fly, but not go crazy with it. Got a couple more steps. Ehlers used cheeks on his flies, so he just used mallard flank, and we're gonna 2 pieces of that, and this one's a little long, but I think we can do it here. There we go. Trim that, get one on the other side. We'll trim that off. And the final piece Ehlers was friends with Ed Bendel, and he undoubtedly got a hold of some of Ed's jungle cockeyes that Ed brought back from World War II. And I don't have any of those, so we're using artificial jungle cockeyes. Get those in place. Trim that one off. And we'll get the one on the other side. And we'll trim that off. Just make a nice head for the fly. Get everything covered up. I got one pesky piece of hair. And we're good. Put a whip finish on this. And we'll get some head cement. There's actually 2 more steps. So he painted eyes on his flies. I gotta paint the eye and then paint the little dot in the eye for the pupil. And we'll show that next. So here's another one of the flies that I made earlier. And for the main part of the eye, we got some, I'm using fluorescent yellow. He used more of a straight up yellow. It's a lacquer. So I'm just using a nail and making a dot for the eye, about like that, on each side. And we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and put the little black spot in the middle. So here's the next part. Just take a little black lacquer. And I'm just going to make a dot in the middle. That's how the fly's tied, so you get to do a little painting and a little craft work too, but it's kind of neat. It's a neat streamer pattern that works well in the Adirondacks. If you like this video and you like the video in the series, I ask that you go ahead and hit like and subscribe to the channel. We'll have more fly tying videos. It seems that folks really like them, so I'm going to keep producing them. Also, if you're interested, I have information at the end of the video for how you can buy a copy of the book. Thanks for watching.